All right, this is the meeting of the Town of Buchanan Charter Revision Commission Group One on today, Wednesday, March 11, 2026. First order of business is to call the roll. So will my fellow commissioners go around the table, identifying themselves?
Steve Case is here.
Angela Jameson is here.
Chris, sorry, Chris LaBrace is here. Do we have minutes from previous meetings that we can approve?
I reviewed the minutes that were posted on the March 4th meeting, and I would make a motion to approve them as is.
All right.
No typos?
I thought P and Z C was a typo, but that's the way they identify themselves, I guess.
Well, that's what I chose to identify. Yeah.
Okay, but no, I didn't see any, but I'm probably the worst at that, so.
Okay, so the minutes of the March 4th meeting have been approved. All right. Okay, so the first order of business is Article 1. Joe, do you have any?
We do not have any updates on Article 1 because we've not heard the attorneys. As soon as we hear, we will take whatever the direction is. It'll be very simple, 1 or 2 sentences, and that should take care of, well, that should take care of one piece. The other piece is Todd Lambert asked to rewrite the publishing section of the newspaper and electronic media. He said he thought he could improve that, so we're waiting to get that from him. Haven't bugged them because as I look at where we are, it would appear we're in the lead or close to the lead in terms of filling out other groups. I don't think I've caught up with much. So as we get closer to the end, I will bug them to get more.
So it was group 3 that asked to have something specific included.
Todd Lambert
That is group 3.
said, now he said during our call, the Zoom call that we had one meeting, fourth commission meeting on Zoom. When we reviewed, Kathleen had used Article 1 as sort of a template.
Yeah,
When we got to the section on publishing,
yes.
that section is a little clumsy. And he said, I think I can do a better job. So we said, okay.
Good. I thought that, I could be wrong here, I thought group 2 asked to have something included in Article 1, but maybe I'm wrong on
Oh,
that.
they did. They asked to change the word warning to notice.
Oh, okay.
And I will just do that when we update the others. Just one word.
Yeah, so has that been updated in what was sent to Kathleen?
Since that meeting,
Yes.
no, I wasn't gonna update it
Same
to
way, yeah.
You're gonna wait for,
the attorneys. and-
oh, okay, to do everything
So
together.
there's 3 things. There's the notice word, there's Todd Lambert's input, and there's the attorney's opinion on
Seal, not the seal,
whether
the logo.
whether the logo is a seal or not.
Yeah,
That will take all of a minute or 2 to write in,
absolutely.
and that can be turned around in a few minutes.
Yeah, we've been ready to publish this one for a while. Okay, well, hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have made progress. Article 19, town clerk.
Yes, so I did send Claudia some additional questions, as you know, back in February, and asked her to get back to me by March 1st. She had about a week, 10 days. She wasn't able to do that. She promised them very soon thereafter. Then Monday this week, she sent me an email saying she was very close to finish. Would it be okay for Tuesday morning? And I said, yes, of course. Unfortunately, I received the answers at 7 minutes past 4 today. So I can share those answers with you on the screen, but nobody's going to have had a chance to think about them.
Well, why don't you do that? Just we'll digest it and then we won't.
Is everybody okay doing that? Yeah.
Okay.
We won't do anything with it until the next meeting, but we'll at least see it together.
All right.
And can we react? I think we can.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's on the screen.
Yeah, that's so.
Just give me a minute if you would. Here we go. Now I've got to share the screen. Sharing is not turned on. Send request. Request
Allow.
being sent. Allow, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, let me see if I can make that bigger for everybody.
Just
Well, we can read it, I think.
Yeah, it's fine, just
Yeah.
scroll up.
There we go, it's even better, yeah. So
I'm gonna move my
now-
chair.
Yeah,
I didn't bring my distance with.
Oh, okay. Can you see from there, or would you be better off sitting
No,
up front?
I can see.
Okay. Okey doke.
is there anything I can do to make that the whole screen? Anybody knows?
You had it bigger there a second ago.
Can you change the font size?
Oh, no, it's a
Oh,
PDF.
Yeah.
But there's,
Oh, there's
the
the
very
plus
top in
there.
the center, I think, if you go
It's
to the
just my
right,
little magnifying glass
yeah,
there.
over to the left.
In the center, magnifying glass.
Go.
No, I did
No.
the search.
There you go, right there.
Plus.
Oh, that's too
Oh, all
much.
right.
Now back a little. There you go, that's as good as you're gonna get.
Can we try one more bump to see what happens?
Okay,
That goes beyond that.
sorry.
Just one bump.
Just one bump.
Yeah. Do you want to come sit here, Joe, so you can?
No,
see
that
on
would be
here?
one. No, I'll be okay.
That's the one.
What I can't read, I'll just fill in.
Oh,
No,
no, it really wants to magnify.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
no, that one.
Okay, this is the.
Yeah.
as it gets.
All right, that's it.
So, her overall comment, as you can see there, is that she felt that many of the questions included appeared to fall outside the scope of the charter. All these questions were actually based on input that we had received from various parties. And
These questions were made by the different commissioners, is that correct?
they were comments that we received from many different sources.
But so who curated, who put them together?
And
I did. And I shared
we
that
all
with
had an
you.
opportunity.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
That's good.
And my response to that would be that in relation to whether this particular position should be elected or appointed, one of the one of the considerations that I personally think is important is whether the current structure, where the town clerk is completely independent from everybody else in town hall, is contributing to what we have heard are problems in terms of collegiality, friction between the different parts of
Can you
town hall.
expand on that a little, give some dimension, how many people, if you could tell us who, I mean, I've heard that comment, but it's a nice, interesting comment, can you expand on it? What's the substance behind it?
Well, I have heard that under different first selectmen, there has not been good relationships between the town clerk's office and first selectman's office and other departments in town hall. A lot of the different departments in town hall are very dependent on records that the town clerk has, property deeds, for example, and they need to access those in order to do their job. And currently they have to actually physically go into the town clerk's office and ask to have a copy rather than being able to.
How long a distance would they have to travel to get to the town clerk's office?
Well, they have to stop what they're doing, get up from their desk,
Right.
but you cut me off. No, you cut me off before I'd finished. Okay,
Sure.
so what would be useful is to have a read-only access to some of the land records, and obviously, any personal information should be redacted. Now, that was a separate question that we'll get to in a minute.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. I've gotten input from other people that are quite different, and I understand, so on the record, I've heard many positive things about the town clerk's office. And in particular, the read-only terminal, my information is that was tried, and that didn't work.
Well, that's what the town clerk has said.
Look, you're interrupting me, I haven't finished.
It's not nice, is it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It works both ways. So I've heard very positive things about the town clerk's office. And I heard the read-only terminal didn't work, and that there were possibilities, of people having access to other types of information that they shouldn't normally get, but so that's the conclusion of my statement, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Being on the elections, being an election monitor, there have been, well, not have been, almost every election, there's an issue between the town clerk's office and the registrar of voters about getting the ballots into the clerk's office, registered, and upstairs to the counting room in a timely manner. And this goes on almost every election. There's some kind of a friction between the guys across the street there.
The registrar. Yeah.
In the clerk's office. So that's my experience with it, and it seems like it could be more, I don't know, it seems like there should be this every single election.
When you say ballots, do you mean
The ballots that come in and the early ballots.
absolutely?
Yeah.
Because I was in the counting room during the election of 23. And other than some technical issues with the machine, it ran very smooth.
You were upstairs?
I was in, I'm gonna tell you where it was, in Saks Middle School.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not where the absentee ballots come in. So it's a completely different process.
Okay. Right.
So it has to do with the absentee ballots, the way they come in, have to be processed, registered. The problem comes with writing, getting the absentee ballots and making sure that voter is removed from the general list at polling places. And that's the area of friction that happens, and the town clerk says she's overwhelmed, and the registrars say that shouldn't be the case. So there is this conflict.
I guess I hate to think that we can legislate people's actions, but there seems to be, forgetting about personalities, with both the treasurer and the town clerk, issues of governance and who is responsible for overseeing their actions. And I mean, you can't, I mean, if there's personality conflicts, we can't do anything about that one. But is it part of the charter review to make sure a reporting structure exists for elected positions, which I think is the registrar of voters, the town clerk, and the treasurer, right? That are quite literally part of the team,
Yeah.
if they're elected. And it seems to be left open, and I'm just bringing the issue up, and I don't have an answer to that. But is that part, and my question is it part of the charter review commission's for across the board for those three role to try to amplify that governance situation?
Well, it could be if you think that's the structure that is exacerbating a situation. Clearly, we got personality issues, but if there is a structure such as someone being extremely independent because they're elected, it's impossible for the electorate to provide oversight on a regular day-by-day basis. The first selectman's office is unable to do that because the elected officials say, we are elected, we don't report to you. And it is important that at times they say no to whether it's the town council
And they should
or to the first selectman.
Right.
But my argument is you find that in pretty much every kind of organization, that there are times when you have to tell the person in charge what you want to do is kind of ultra vires, illegal, against the regulations, whatever.
Well, and I would just looking at this as everybody needs a boss. Yeah, if you are the CEO, you report to the board. I mean, everybody has a boss. Sorry, I cut you off.
Okay,
Go ahead, finish.
Okay, everybody needs a boss, and absent. I just don't feel like anybody should be able to be independent because they were elected, and the absent of not having a natural supervisor, given the election process, those, I think it's those three positions. I'd say it should report through the first selectman.
Mr. Chairman.
Joe,
I think you're overlooking two really interesting pieces of information. At first, the town clerk that you're talking about, I think has been in the office for 28 years, or some big number. And to my knowledge, there is no history of this type of issue until recently, until the last administration, till now. So one has to look at the events that you're talking about that have occurred in the last 2 or 3 years, and then another 25 years previously with multiple first selectmen where there have been no such issues. Because if they were, one would have thought they would have been resolved one way or the other. So I put up the 25-year history as really a counterweight to this argument that there's a rebellious town clerk, and say that the other nominee should be the first selectman, who basically is in for the first. That's the second point. The other group that doesn't report to anyone, according to the town chart, is the Board of Finance. So doesn't report to anyone.
Well, it does report to the Board of Selectmen and Town Council in the sense that they appoint members of the Board of Finance and reappoint them. But I would also say, Joe, I have heard that that was friction between the town clerk and the first selectman's office under the previous two administrations, and I just can't go any further back.
I heard just the opposite. I heard they were just getting along reasonably well.
so Claudia and Kevin,
Yeah, and
and
Rob.
Claudia and Rob,
Well, the honour.
I presume that, and so when Kevin gave a speech, did anybody ask him?
I didn't.
I didn't ask them.
I mean, or,
Did you bring
and Rob hasn't been invited in, Judy's around, we could ask her.
And I think that's not my point, though. My point is everybody needs a boss.
Yeah,
And I mean, we haven't had any, I haven't heard anything about the registrar of voters. And I think they need a supervisory body too. So that's my point, is every individual in the town government should have absolutely independence, but somebody that that supervises their activities.
yeah,
Then they won't be independent.
well, I have a question, how, at the state level, the Attorney General, which holds a role similar to the Secretary of State, holds a position similar to the town clerk.
Right.
Who does the Secretary of the State report to?
I would say the governor. I mean, I've seen that person. I don't know that. I should say.
Andrew commented on this in his presentation. There are several offices in the state that are elected. I think Attorney General was one, and I think the Secretary of State is the other.
Treasurer.
Or Treasurer, I'm sorry, Treasurer. There are several that are elected separate from the governor.
And the Attorney General, you're right on that.
They're elected, but I mean, I was the consultant to the state of Connecticut, and I used to work very closely with the treasurer. The treasurer would listen to what the governor said,
Yeah.
for sure, and I am living proof of that. The treasurer listened to and took dictates from the governor.
That's certainly a healthy way to live.
And maybe the political parties play a role at the state level, because not always the case, but if they're from the same political party, maybe that plays a role. But I think at the state level, there's a healthy respect for the roles that each are playing. And that has sort of happened perhaps organically over time. I don't know.
Well, there's no reason, because, if you ever had, well, no, forget it, it's irrelevant.
We just go through
Yeah,
I mean,
Okay,
it sounds like we're kind of going off on, is it a,
Well,
is it a
according
short-term
to,
issue or?
according to, Copilot AI, the Connecticut State, the Secretary of State is independent elected council, therefore does not report to any other state official in a hierarchical sense. The office is accountable directly to the voters of Connecticut,
Interesting.
not to the governor, the legislature, or any agency. In other words.
Treasurer, yeah, treasurer would be in the same boat.
Yeah,
yeah,
And is that attorney general?
yeah, well, I didn't ask about those people, but yes, you're right.
Be interesting, could you chat? Because I think that's precedent.
Well, I just checked,
And
on
they
the
do,
Secretary of the State.
yeah,
yeah.
The Secretary of the State holds a job analogous to the town clerk.
So that was just the preamble. So the first question,
So the answer to the question, I think, is no, there is no way to
legislate.
legislate it, because if we said, oh, our town clerk reports to the first selectman, I think you'd be open to a lawsuit on that, and it'd be,
Can't do it.
it would lose.
Our country is built on the idea of separation of powers. We have three distinct branches. Now, we don't have I don't think we have a judicial branch in Canada, so there is some separation of powers.
yeah, but if we're talking about the executive here, I mean, the executive is the first selectman, board of selectmen, town clerk, registrar.
Checks and balances go across different, and this is the way the state has set it up. And
Yeah, I mean, it's set up that way, with the understanding that, these elected officials who are all independent and report only to the voters will play nice together. And if they can't, then presumably eventually that gets back to the voters and they take some kind of action.
Except it really doesn't.
But that's true of all elections. That's, the voters do not always express themselves.
But to your point, in the case of this town clerk, I think she's been elected 28 times, it would be 14 times.
Yes.
At some point, the voters might have had some inclination it was an issue over 28 years.
Somebody would have, it would be hard to do, somebody would have to actually go out there and campaign against the town clerk. And if there was no person actually running for town clerk, it'd be a negative campaign. All she'd have to do is get one vote.
Same as the first selectman, just had to get one.
Well, but the first selectman is not always unopposed. The town clerk has been largely unopposed.
I think she said that she's faced a challenge 3 times in the party caucus. And we don't know, unless we were at that caucus, what the issues were that the opponents were raising, whether it was just that they wanted the job or whether they were actually bringing forward some issues in the way that the job was done.
If I may, I think I'm right on this, I really do, that the town clerk in the last election got the most votes of any person running the election.
Yeah,
And I believe the election before, she got the most votes of any person running for any office in the election.
yeah, I think that generally happens because she gets votes from everybody and she's unopposed. And the same is true for Andrew, for the treasurer. Treasurer takes.
Yeah, and
And the
I
first selectman.
would also-
This is all opposed.
I would also add that
But I think you're right.
I would also add that the town clerk position is seen as less party political than the first selectman.
But
So there are people who would not vote for a first selectman of the other party, but they may in fact consider voting for a town clerk of that other party.
That's an interesting hypothesis, but I just think it's a hypothesis. I haven't seen any reports, no one has mentioned anything about that.
Yeah, I don't think the town clerk behaves in a partisan manner. I think she generally, the issue with the town clerk may be that incumbent fatigue. I mean, she's been in there for a long time and you get lackadaisical after a while, especially if you don't get any job performance reviews or anything. And you just there for 28 years, you've got the same job.
Again, I go back to the fact it's an interesting hypothesis, but one has to consider the change on the other side at the selectman level where the issues seem to occur. So I think both are equally valid.
So do we wanna just
Yes,
take a
I'd
look
like
at, I mean, that was the preamble. Number one, are there any sections in the town charter that would recommend adding to or eliminating? And she refers us to her written testimony, when I'm afraid I haven't had time to look at that, so we can
Okay.
perhaps come back to that another time. Should the town charter specify that the assistant town clerks are appointed by the town clerk? Yes, she agrees with that idea. As the next one's very interesting, as the town council sets the compensation level for the town clerk, should it do the same for the assistant town clerks? Answer is no. I could see the town clerk setting the salary, though in consultation with the HR director. Further, assistant town clerks should be considered as exempt employees. I have had situations where an assistant town clerk has tried to block me from allowing other workers from doing tasks required by the town clerk because those individuals are not members of the union. The assistant town clerk must be accountable to the town clerk only, not another person or entity.
She mentions COLA at the bottom, and I think it's important to note, particularly when you think about issues that are happening, is that although I believe most, if not all, of the employees of the town got a COLA increase this year, the town clerk and the treasurer did not. They were singled out. And even though the town council voted for them to receive COLA, they were still not receiving COLA by direction, I believe, of the Board of Finance. So I think when you look at possible issues of friction, I think you have to take into consideration that these two people, all the employees in the town have been singled out not to receive COLA, which shouldn't have been an issue, and I have no idea why it ever was.
I don't know, I don't remember that the Board of Finance refused to call them.
I watched the meeting at the town council, and the town council voted to award the COLA, and the Board of Finance post that, but still turned it down. That's
They singled those two positions out.
Well, that's a good question. Why, who could single those two positions out? And you know, why would one even consider two positions? COLAs usually apply just across.
Right.
So those keep in mind, those two people that you're saying had some issues were denied COLA, even over support by the town council, and it's on record, you can watch it.
I have a recollection that perhaps their salaries have been increased quite significantly in recent years. And I've heard that the town clerk's salary is the highest in Fairfield County. I mean, it is
Do you have data on that? Because I don't have any data. You have data on that, but COLA is still applied independent. It's across the board, but these two people were singled out. And even with the support of the town council, which one would think that the town council, if not authority, would just have the gravitas that the Board of Finance would have supported that, but they were denied. And so I think I just take that into consideration.
I understand, and I'm just struck that the town sets their salary, just what that means.
Well, somebody has to, I suppose.
Well,
The town is responsible for setting the salaries of elected officials prior to the election, so that those officials know how much they're gonna be paid if they win an election. The next time that salary is reviewed is at the next election. So that
Okay.
again, the same process happens. COLA may be out of the question because it's inappropriate. Because those are fixed salaries for that job, for that duration of time, and they don't creep up with COLA every year.
yeah, this is very technical.
Well, that is the way it works.
Town council, obviously.
Yeah, but the town council may not have been on solid ground.
Let me add one more point to Angela's point about the highest salary in Fairfield County. In every organization I've ever been involved with, longevity gets rewarded. So someone who's been in a position for 28 years obviously has grown at some level in that position. So I think if you're gonna compare her to, compare the town clerk to other people, one would need to find someone with comparable years, roughly 28 years. And then I think it would be fair analysis.
But that's not the way those things are priced.
I'm not suggesting we should, I'm just responding to the.
There's someone online that has raised their hand.
No, I don't see any virtual hand.
Christina Ross.
Oh, I see her now. Yes.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'd just like to clarify a couple of questions that have been raised. By statute, the town council, the legislative body, is empowered to set the salary of the town clerk, the first selectman, and the treasurer. Those three salaries are set by the town council, and then they can be set up to before the election. And if you take the COLA and you numerically figure out what it would be over a period of 2 years, you can set it and use the COLA as the basis, or you can do an increase. Unfortunately, the salary of the treasurer had been very low in comparison to other towns, and he had been doing a tremendous amount of goodwill work that we felt needed to be compensated accordingly. The town clerk's position, her salary had been frozen through some of the administrations. And over the years, the town council sought to bring it up slowly to be more equitable to the cost of living in New Canaan. We are not paying a salary that is equitable to a standard of living in New Canaan. And it's unfortunate that after the town council voted to increase it, just the minimal amount of the COLA raise that went across the Board of Finance refused to allow it, claiming that because it was done after the budget was approved, that it needed further approval by the Board of Finance. And by approval, meaning that it would come out of contingency. The only thing that would come out of contingency would be the increase in the salary, because the base salary was already included in the budget. Now, to answer some of Angela's question, in the prior elections, noting that Claudia has been in office for approximately 28 years or 26 years, I can tell you that the people that ran against her ran because they wanted the job, not because they were raising any issues of malfeasance or anything that had been done wrong. So therefore, there was no issue about her performance. Unlike other towns who have had issues with the state, of which the town clerk reports to both the state and the different offices within the state and to the town, she hasn't had a blemish on her record. Other towns have been penalized and fined for errors and omissions. Our office hasn't. When you deal about what the salary differences are within Fairfield County, she's one of the longest serving, most senior town clerks in Fairfield County. A lot of the towns have had turnover, and when you turn over, you come down in salary to whatever level you're best suited to, but it doesn't mean that you start at the top or continue on the same salary range. So I think that you have to recognize that there are many reasons why salaries are what they are, but from a legislative body point of view, we haven't seen anything that would preclude us from saying they deserve more. And with regards to this administration and the position they have taken in forbidding or allowing the COLA increase in salaries, it's deplorable and shameful. And I just cannot find a reason why anybody would do that to an employee or another human being. That's
Is it written anywhere that the treasurer and the town clerk effectively have their salaries established by the town council? Because I think that.
Yes, it's in this Connecticut statutes.
It's in the Connecticut statute, okay,
Yes.
great.
Yes.
Because that is the answer to my governance question, and that
And actually, the existing town charter says the town clerk's salary shall be set by the town council pursuant to the general statute. So
Correct. And there's no mention of the Board of Finance needing to approve anything. And I think it's gone a step too far in this case. And another salary, and another position that's selected that does not report to the first selectman is the Register of Voters. There are a few of these jobs that, as much as the first selectman would like to have these offices report to them, it is clear that they report to other agencies in the state. And it would perhaps inform you better if you looked at the budget process through the Board of Selectmen at the very beginning for some of these offices and what these department heads went through.
Thanks.
can I just ask Ms. Ross a further question?
Sure.
Do you have a view on whether town council should set the compensation level for the assistant town clerk?
No, it is not in the statutes, and it's not something we have contemplated. The assistant
Okay.
town clerk is a town employee appointed by the town clerk, and there's no reason why we would go beyond what the statutes require us to do.
Thank you.
If I may add, just talk about the treasurer for a second. When we had the presentation, a number of the points that he raised, one in particular, he wasn't allowed to call the attorneys. We made a very significant issue. Chris asked him about that. Now,
Yes.
he also doesn't have access to his COLA, so you have two decisions radiating from.
Well, no, he got a $40,000 or $20,000 increase in his salary. I mean, the salary doubled. So wait, there's no COLA issue here with the treasurer.
Well, hang on a second. I was talking about the treasurer, I was talking about.
Well,
I was not treasurer, no, I was, the point I wanted to make is the treasurer did not receive his COLA, we agree on that,
he got double his salary.
but he was, look, I'm only saying he didn't receive his COLA, that happens.
Well, Christina just said that the COLA was, the salary increase was calculated as the, what the COLA would have been.
For this year.
Christina, the salaries are set, they're not subject to COLAs like people from DPW, right? This is not the same thing like Board of Ed or anything else. These are salaries that are, this is the salary for the next 2 years.
We did the same thing, I'm sorry,
$40,000.
Chris, but we did the same thing for the first selectman. We gave her
Yeah.
COLA, and she's an
Well, because
elected
that's the way
official,
it
and
was-
we set the salary.
But that's the way it was decided in that case, to say her salary increase would be X to Y for the next
Yeah.
2 years.
Exactly.
For the treasurer and the town clerk, you set a flat amount, but that doesn't make them subject to the COLA in the interim period. The next time they get reassessed for a salary change is at the next election.
We did the same thing for the first selectman as we did for the treasurer and the town clerk. And it was overturned, and the only one that came out with the COLA was the first selectman. And overturn, I mean that the Board of Finance said that they voted on it and that they were denied.
Thank you, Christine.
Okay, well, we've had an interesting.
I mean, to me, my takeaway is this was a Board of Finance decision, and I support the Board of Finance and the way they make decisions. And I just feel like we spent an enormous amount of time on this issue, and we can't, I mean, our role is to kind of set the top level governance issue.
I agree with the town clerk that many of these questions are out of scope in this discussion. So I would not entertain these questions, but that here's, we have to look at.
Well, we have to agree to disagree, Mr. Barlow, because I
Yes.
do think these questions are important
Please do.
and they came from a number of different sources. So we can speed it up if you like.
No, we're done fine.
Number 4, where you can read that there. How do you see the overall role of the town clerk? Do you want to just read that? Would you like me to read it out, Joe?
Yeah, I'm gonna read it.
Yeah.
Okay, but the town clerk is an independently elected public official who serves as an executive officer of the town alongside the treasurer and the board of selectmen. To effectively carry out the diverse responsibilities of the office, the town clerk often relies on cooperation and support from other municipal offices. During my tenure, I've served with 7 different first selectmen. Each time I've had to balance the priorities of the first selectman with the broader interests of the voters. While these interests often align, there are instances when they do not. In those instances, it is important that the town clerk uphold the independence of the office and set policy in the best interest of the voters. It is also important to recognise that the town clerk's position differs from that of a hired employee. As an independently elected official, the town clerk is accountable to the voters and operates within a system of checks and balances designed to maintain integrity and independence within local government. My office works well with and is very supportive of other departments whenever possible. Friction tends to happen only when someone outside my office oversteps their authority and tries to dictate policy or procedures that encroach on the authority, independence, or the responsibilities of the town clerk. Or additionally, when others make decisions that are not in the best interests of the town clerk's operations and good governance. Indeed, the town clerk's office works closely with other departments to ensure that municipal processes are handled appropriately. The office follows the guidance of the finance department with respect to financial processing and works in coordination with the human resources department during hiring processes and when addressing personnel matters. The town clerk's office also remains committed to supporting the initiatives of the first selectman whenever possible. Throughout my tenure, I've also worked collaboratively with both treasurers with whom I have served, as well as with more than 50 boards and commissions that interact with the town clerk's office on a daily basis. So, it's a kind of a she says, he says kind of situation.
Well, I think she said that's probably true.
Right, but it sounds like the reason for the friction lies with offices outside of the town clerk.
Well, yes, this is, okay, so you'd have to really interview everybody
Yeah.
involved, but we're not here to resolve
Mm-hmm.
frictions between different departments of the government, or to legislate behavior. If people misbehave or they can't get along, then they have to work it out. We can't tell them, thou shalt do this. That's not our role.
I completely agree.
Totally agree.
I mean, my issue that I keep on coming back to is somebody misbehaves. I'm gonna pick on the registrar of voters because nobody's saying anything there, and I put them in the same camp. Whose issue is it to step in and supervise the misbehaving in that area?
No one's. No one.
That just is wrong, I think.
No, the people work because they're all independently elected people who live they have their own silo, and these silos don't meet anywhere, so they don't have an overall boss. The overall boss is the public.
Right.
The voters. The voters send these people to do a job, and the expectation is that they will work together for the better of the town, even if there are personal conflicts and conflicts between the various offices. That's just the way it's designed to work.
So then it becomes,
It's not pretty.
No.
The sausage is ugly. It sometimes smells, but that's how you make it.
I'll go back to the earlier comment that you made then, that maybe it's on the parties just to,
Well, the voters.
well, ultimately the voters, but I tried to find the policies this election cycle, because I knew I was doing this,
Yeah.
that the town clerk was running on.
Yeah, nothing.
It's, and I mean, and I remember reading that she had been doing it and forever, and she knew her role, so yes, I voted for her, but if there's real problems and it isn't in the town hall's authority to, I don't know, I'm not entering into whether there's real problems or not. But if there are problems, there needs to be a check and balance there too. And if that doesn't happen, then it becomes the role of the parties that appointed these people.
In my experience, even though a person may not have authority over another group of person, if they're in the senior position, there's often a time and a place for what we would call senior leadership, to build for team building. And so it would be, I would think, the office of the first selectman who would want to be the team builder of town government, independent of whether there's authority or not, just to create the camaraderie of the team.
I agree.
And that's what executives do.
That's leadership.
There's leadership. And then if you have little spots, you work them out. But so I would ask the question, is there a leadership void? Because a leader would not allow those things, even if they don't have the authority, you still have the ability to bring people.
And we can't legislate that.
You can't legislate.
Well, I do understand. I mean, this might not be what you have in mind exactly, Joe, but you know, the first selectman holds heads of department meetings. And one of the issues there is so that everybody in town hall gets to hear what's going on, what the priorities are, etc. And you know, word trickles down from the heads of department to the staff that they manage. But the town clerk has been invited, but does not attend because she is independent. And that's a problem, perhaps, for the people who work in town clerk's office, because they haven't got a clue about what else is going on in town hall.
My information is different, if you're finished. And in particular, I point to the treasurer, who's often not invited. And wouldn't you think the treasurer should be invited? Just as part of your character? Wouldn't the treasurer fit as a team member? Any reason not to invite the treasurer?
Well,
The treasurer's not invited,
there isn't a department. I mean, the treasurer is the treasurer, and there isn't anybody else.
but he's a team player, very important player of the team. And as you say, I think correctly, you should have a meeting and everybody should be invited. But the treasurer's not been invited, and you can ask him directly.
Angela, it's Tucker. Would you like me to just clarify that point?
I think our meeting is fine, Tucker. There's no need
Oh,
to interview.
well, I
to you.
think we
Let's
should
hear it.
hear
Let's
what Miss Murphy has to say.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm jumping in. I'm out of town at the moment, so I don't have my video on. But the department head meetings happen about once a month, and historically, they are internal staff meetings. We go through everything from any kind of emergency information that we need to know about in the building, as well as we talk about dates for budgets. And, you know, again, a lot of human resources information is shared at those meetings. I've never, in the years that I've been there, 5 years, no, the treasurer, I don't believe has ever been included. But again, I think those meetings are really geared towards those of us in the building that need to know everything from the minutia of parking assignments to, purchase order requests, new procedures within the finance department and that kind of thing.
So maybe we're coming up with a different executive meeting that should happen with the elected officials that really are allowed by state statute to run in a silo and coordination with the town government.
This is a staff meeting, she said. So and I can understand, staff meetings have very particular things you have to do.
Yeah.
But then there's an executive level type team building meeting where you get together and have pizza on Friday.
Well, again, we're not gonna legislate that.
You can't,
Yeah.
that's what I said, it's leadership point.
So, Tucker, you still there?
Yep,
Tucker?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Hi, sorry.
Okay, so, are you saying that the fact that the town clerk does not attend the department staff meeting is not an issue or is an issue?
We have found it to be an issue in the past because a lot of information is shared that needs to get to the staff within different departments. Again, some of it's just minutia, but some of it is very important information. And we have found that in the past, employees in the clerk's office have come to us after the fact and said, I wasn't aware of this offering, this program, or things like that. And Cheryl Jones, Human Resources Director, has had to respond with that, that information was provided during a staff meeting or a department head meeting on specific dates. So I think if you asked the employees in that office, some of them now haven't been there as long, but some in the past, they said that they were the ones that felt that they were missing out on important information. And then we would have to follow up and have a separate meeting with them to explain whatever it was that they were missing out on.
Tucker, if I may ask you, if the last two town staff meetings with the town clerk invited?
She's invited to every meeting. Yes, she is. She is on that distribution list.
Don't-
I've been there for almost 6 years. She's attended one.
Okay, thank you.
I would like, there are 17 questions here. So I leave it up to the group. Do you want to spend the rest of the meeting talking about this? And then you want to table this memo until everybody's had a chance to read it.
Sure.
And then we could discuss it at some other meeting where we address the town clerk position again. In light of this memo from the town clerk.
I
How does
think
everybody
that's
feel
it. Yep.
about this?
That's great.
I didn't realize this was so long.
I
As
didn't.
Angela said, this just arrived. And 17 questions, there's a
Yep.
lot here. She obviously took the time to answer. So we should take the time to read
Yeah,
and then we should bring this up at a subsequent date.
Sounds good.
okay, very good.
All right, so
I'm gonna stop sharing.
we're gonna stop, we'll move on to the next, because there's a lot here and okay, so, the next item on the agenda is Article 13, Parking Commission.
Now, as we started this meeting, the parking commission was meeting on a special agenda to go over language to redraft the town charter.
So they're meeting simultaneously.
Simultaneously. I happen to have their language. It's very brief and I wanted to, they're gonna adjust it somehow. But what I thought I would do is socialize their language. So given
Yeah.
this to see where they're going and just get your input because again, we did meet. Becca was part of that meeting, I'm gonna say a week ago,
Okay,
for almost an hour and a half on this. And they're being great in terms of their acknowledgement of the need to redraft the town charter as it relates to them. This is a red line version, and again, this will change, it's their meeting now to finalize this. But basically what it does is it doesn't really change anything with respect to the town's creation of a parking commission. It doesn't change anything with respect to the appointment or terms. It takes out almost everything relating to that's in the town charter relating to how they should hold the meetings, what they should do, how they should report. And this is going to be dictated in ordinances that they're going to be redrafting to the town council and will be the next step on this. This kind of attempts to redraft the documents as they relate to the parking commission.
Steve, question.
Sure.
If we just accept this, and I have no idea of the content, but just accept it from a process point of view. These things that are currently in the charter would be taken out.
Yes.
There would then be less in the charter. And there would be an expectation that the town council then has to refill with ordinance. So what happens if they don't? The charter goes forward with all this information out, and then there's a big hole.
These are what they've done is taken the police commission and the fire commission as examples of how they should be specifying their role in the town charter. And I don't know if Tucker's still on, but almost everything in terms of the town ordinances for the parking commission dated 1965 to 1970.
I can see it.
Nothing has happened, and I know Tucker and the parking commission are all over getting something to, one more point, to the town council. The town council did recently vote on a special item to allow them to basically become a hearing body, because the town council had never authorized that, even though they had been acting in that way.
That was my point of some meetings.
Yes, you found, the town council has already acted on that one specific point to allow them to continue to do their job, so to speak. And I think that will be very specific language in this, and that's the one thing you can see just above the commission may serve as the hearing body for parking citation appeals in the matter authorized by ordinance.
Well, I was looking for,
I just wonder why it says may serve rather than serves.
actually shall is the key word. I believe that in the lexicon at the back of the charter, there's a distinction between may and shall.
Yeah.
And shall is basically, it's going to happen, and may is conditional.
Well, this will be, I wanted them to draft it.
Yeah.
And they did, and they brought up some, the people that drafted brought up some questions that kind of apply outside of them. I wanted to socialize with you where they are right now.
Yeah.
They're being great. And by the next meeting, we should have language that they've totally approved to submit to us. And I will take that as much more official and I'll get that around. But I didn't want to kind of miss the opportunity of at least showing you where they are right now.
Well, thank you for the update, and it seems to me that this is all moving in a good direction, that actually less in the town charter is more.
So can I just ask the question? Sure. So that the goal here is to make parking commission article a mirror the police commission and the fire commission?
Not a mirror, because they have very specific rules and regulations, but the inclusion of a lot of the day-to-day activities that they do that has been in the town charter isn't. As an example, in the police commission and fire commission. So the thought process is move many of those things that were in the town charter and are in kind of uniquely in the town charter for the parking commission outside into the area of ordinances.
And what is, is the town, are the fire commission and police commission also governed by ordinances?
Yes,
Thank you.
so it's just taking it out. I'm sorry, John.
No, I was finishing now.
What assurance do we have from the town council that they'll actually act on the ordinances? Because my only concern is not to have a hole in the document. I'm not arguing with the languages, I just don't want to start to have a big piece.
Well, there's a lot of ordinances that haven't been reviewed by the town council.
That's right. Before we pull this, in other words, before we take this out, I want some idea that they're gonna make a good faith effort to write the ordinances. And I'm not arguing the language, because I haven't really looked at it, I'm just looking back.
I can just say, from action, I think there's a good faith effort that will happen, but I can't give assurances for what the town council will do.
Well, it sounds as though the town council has given authority in that one crucial area
Yeah.
where there wasn't because they hadn't made an ordinance. But I think, Joe raises a good point, and I wish we had all unearthed this issue about out of date ordinances when we were actually speaking with town council members, because it didn't come up very much. It came up a little bit when we were talking to Penny Young, but it seems to me that it's a big hole, and I'm not sure why town council doesn't see it as its responsibility to make sure that they are updated as necessary.
I mean, here's the parking in the charter itself. The parking commission shall prepare and submit to the board of selectmen, the planning and zoning commission, plans for the provision of public off-street parking facilities, which plans shall be completed on or before the 15th day of November, blah, 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 blah. Nobody's following this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just out of date language and most of this, and I think to allay your concerns, if there is something that's really important from the town government's perspective to make sure the parking commission does, my read so far is it's in here. Okay. But I mean, that's why I wanted to get this to everybody else and see it. I mean, 4 months are better than one. If somebody has, from your vantage point, they may be eliminating something that should be in the
Well, we have
government.
to look at.
Yeah, I think, we'll go ahead, Joe.
No.
Yeah, again, we can't tell the town council what to do. They are an elected body, and they do a good job in town, and they take responsibility for a lot of things that they do. whether this gets put on their agenda depends a little bit on who sets whether the president of the town council set this as an agenda priority, and then the other members can, begin working on it. I've been told by some of the town council members that unfortunately what happens is ordinance writing gets delegated to the newest members of the town council,
Or the least.
or the least experience, because it's a bit tedious and boring. Whereas in fact, the most experienced people would probably do the best job, but that's theirs, that's their.
That's their action.
Yeah,
I think we would all agree, we shouldn't be specifying dates that reports will be delivered to different departments in the town charter. And we would all agree that 1960s ordinances should probably have been updated. But our job is the charter and to make sure anything relevant stays in the charter, but specifying the date in November to have a report time.
In the report that the Charter Revision Commission gives to Town Council, we could also give as a recommendation that they take a long, hard look at ordinances on the books and update them as necessary.
Absolutely.
You have to be considerate also that there's going to be a total workload in the report for the town council. And there are other things that I've heard in other meetings, and they're gonna get a big list of to-dos.
But if I hate to say it, but if this was me and I was sitting in an executive body of the town council, I'd say, law firm, you give me a draft. And bring it back to me.
That works.
that's expensive.
It's expensive, but that's what I would do. And somebody, there should be once a year a relook at all
The
the,
first time around is going to be painful.
make it give it to intern or something like that.
Law firm could do it.
There is an ordinance committee of town council, but I think they tend to focus more on new stuff, new ordinances.
Okay,
Well-
that's an oversight then in my mind. Sorry.
I don't know, but I think we should leave it there. There's really no decisions to be made this evening. I think we take the parking commission's draft under advisement and we wait for further information.
And
from
I'll
them.
have,
And then
once
we
they-
can decide what we'll recommend to the full charter commission.
Good.
and I'll come back with a more considered analysis on their final draft
Okay,
to you
so.
possibly next meeting.
Okay, so Article 13.
Was there any discussion regarding the parking, what used to be the parking bureau? For a short time on the website, it's called the parking department, now it's just referred to as parking, the last time I looked, so is there any discussion about that organization with this, what they totally separate?
Well, this is the parking commission, the parking department reports, Kevin, reports to the parking commission on an ongoing basis. And they are integrally involved in it.
It doesn't say that anywhere, I'd like to see it say that, but it doesn't say that anywhere.
Didn't we talk about that?
But
too?
I think the manager of the parking department or parking bureau actually reports to
Yeah.
Tucker.
Yeah, and they bring. And the parking commission,
Yeah.
they've seen most of their job as being, as the, the supervisory body over citations. And
Yeah, that's their main job, so that, I hope that stays in
it
the.
is,
Yeah.
it's stronger.
I mean, many of the commissions are assisted service by town hall employees, inland wetlands. Kathleen Holland, the director of inland wetlands, does an invaluable job in assisting the commission to do its. And she contributes to the meeting, she prepares all the paperwork for the meetings, etc. And I think that that's probably also how town planner interacts with P&Z and ZBA.
Thank you, Steve, for adjourn.
But I don't see in this draft anywhere where this is being maintained, that they are the regulatory or Is that-
So right now, the last round, number 8 on the second page, here parking citation appeals if authorized by ordinance.
Right.
And that got moved to the 3 subsections down. The commission may serve, and this was the question earlier, may or shall serve as the hearing body for parking citation appeals in the manner authorized by ordinance.
Yeah, I think it should probably, shall.
Yeah.
And I will make that edit.
Yeah.
It's not, it's
No,
not really.
let's see, yeah, let's see what they say.
And the ordinance, I think if Tucker can hear this, Tucker could say, there is an ordinance that went to the town council on this issue coming out of this group 1 meeting
Outstanding.
that's already gone to them. To
Right.
make sure it's
So
all
maybe this gets resolved even before everything else. Okay,
government in action.
all right, excellent. Okay, our next item is planning and zoning commission, but only in the context of the comments submitted by
Sarah Karen.
Sarah Kemp. So I'm willing to discuss those comments that she gave us if everybody else is amenable.
I read them and I didn't bring a copy, so I didn't realize we were gonna do it just in that context.
I read them and since.
You wanna share it?
Sure, if you mind.
No.
Is the limits of her letter and her comments. And suggests the following, the first point that she makes is around term limits. And it would be my recommendation that we take this letter and introduce it into our term limits discussion as part of the overall corpus of information, and people can work with it as they work through the town. And we shouldn't do anything independent of the larger term limits discussion. So I'm advocating to just incorporate that into the discussion we're gonna have next week.
I would agree with that, and also in relation to minority representation, that's, you know, a bigger theme that we're gonna discuss.
That's
So wait a minute, but her first comment, the only comment, the very first comment I see is not about term limits.
It's the other side, yeah, 2-sided.
I understand that, but if we go in order, 16.1
Yeah.
is minority representation.
Okay, then I would advocate also that minority representation should be included. We're going to have a discussion on that next week as well. And this should be included in the minority representation discussion. I think
Yes.
both.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah,
sorry
that's-
if they're out of order, but that would seem the most, and let the group have access to this and incorporate it in the discussion.
Okay, the next one is 16-3.
And
This has to do with the officers and the necessity of having a vice chair. And the argument is that the work of the planning and zoning commission is so complex and important that if the chairman's not able to be there, the group should know who the designated person shall be, and it's not left to the election of a chairman pro temp by the whole board. And so the chairman pro temp procedure would only kick in the unlikely event that both the chairman and the vice chairman are unable to attend. So it's not a bad recommendation. It actually makes some sense, especially given the importance of that particular commission.
I would agree with that and just raise the question.
Kathleen, yes, ma'am.
No, that's okay, Joe, go ahead and finish and I'll have you add.
We had no collaborating input from any of the commissioners on P and Z. So with some collaborating input that they think it's a good idea, then I think it should go forward.
Great point, and I spoke to Sarah about this, actually went through the whole submission that she provided. And this was really a reflection of what happens today. And what happens today, if the chair is unavailable, it goes to the secretary. And that's pretty well understood that Krista Nielsen is, while she's the secretary, she's an effective pro tem, and she's expected to be that, and everybody kind of gets along with that. I pointed out to Sarah that this is a clause that exists in all other commissions where the board elects the pro tem, and it's their practice that if they choose to have it to be the secretary, so be it. I mean, whatever it is 10 years from now, it's going to be whatever it is. And rather than making the change now, rather than I advise that it should be consistent with all boards and commissions. We had a brief discussion about this regarding Board of Finance, Chris, as you might remember. And in that situation, it's pretty much, I don't know that it's you or somebody else, but once I had that conversation with Sarah, the town planner, she was fine with it. She just wanted to state how it operates today.
Yeah, so maybe we don't need to state this.
No change is necessary.
In the case of the Board of Finance, the secretary is not the automatic presiding officer. The
Okay,
chair is not there. The procedure is to elect a chair pro tem.
okay, and that's fine, and that's what the charter allows. And they do elect a chair pro tem, but it happens to be the secretary in the case of the P and Z. So the point is that if you leave the language as is and is consistent with all commissions, whatever the practice is, as long as they're following it, I think it's consistent and it doesn't require charter change.
Now, I think just for Board of Finance, the last time we had an absent chairman was recently. Chairman suggested that the secretary should be fill that role, but the very first order of business was to elect pro tem, and then the secretary was nominated and elected.
Yeah.
Prior to that, you have to go back 6 or 7 years to find when the chairman was not present. And in that case, they elected the longest serving member. Whose knowledge of the workings was the deepest, and then he was the pro tem for just that one day.
Yeah, it's just whatever the best practice is. I don't think we should just individually change it for each commission in the charter based on what the current practice is. I think if we keep with the standard language, they'll adopt whatever is necessary for each commission.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay. What's the next thing?
I think we're up to the last point, which is C-4. And this is a request to remove some language here. And as I read it, and she's basing her position on case law, which that's interesting, and that it might contradict the statutes. That's a lot to say, something that might contradict the statutes in case law. This phrase would have been approved by the attorneys when they approved the 2016 statute, charter. So it's gone through some level, obviously, of review and approval. I raise a concern because we're removing some rights here in the event of a protest. And basically talking about having a vote of 3/4 of the entire commission. And it seems like it's important enough to have that higher bar as I read this. So if we were going to move forward on this, I think it should only be in the guidance of counsel. Since, like I said, she mentions case law. My view would be to leave it alone. But if the group wants to move forward, I would say only do it at the advice.
Are we, sorry, I'm sorry, are we looking at
C6.
Are you looking at C16(6)? Because we skipped over.
Yeah, C16(6).
Yeah, we skipped over C16 30.
She has 4 powers to this, but she makes no
3.
comments there. She makes comments at 6. So,
Yeah,
I
we just skipped over one, is my only point. We can come back to that.
Well, why don't we finish C16(6) and then be happy to go back. Yes, so, but my comment would be to either leave it alone, or if there's an interest in going forward, to do it only in the advice of counsel, since it seems to be very complicated, and it seems to have been reviewed, and she's, like I say, she's quoting statutes and state law, that's a lot to review, statutes, case law, I'm sorry, case law.
Yeah, what she's saying is that this pending HB 8002 would eliminate this 3/4 business. So, but if that becomes state law, then that presumably
If it becomes state law.
that becomes state law.
But HBO2 right now, is affordable housing, right? So the other types of issues coming before P and Z that are not affordable housing, like tennis courts, retaining walls, things, so that you would still need this, so I'm reluctant to change it, but we do so only on the advice of council.
Yeah, I would.
I'm sorry.
I tend to, yeah, makes sense.
But if the procedure for holding public hearings is not what they're currently doing, isn't that a problem? I think Kathleen has something she'd like to say.
Yes, Kathleen, please.
Okay, so again, just going based on whenever I see any written input, I just follow up with the person as well. What's behind this? So the procedure for holding public hearings, I spoke to Sarah about this. This process is outlined in the charter is not how they currently hold public hearings, which basically has said that they set up subcommittees in terms of creating a committee, no less than 5 appointed members. That's not how they do it now. And so overall, she suggested removing this section. No other town in the area has this provision. And in her reference, it says that it appears to contradict statutes and Connecticut case laws, how public hearings matter and how they must be conducted and voted on. And so you're correct in that. Let's get the clarification from our counsel here, but this apparently is not how they currently have procedures for holding public hearings. It just doesn't happen. And then furthermore, she outlines that current proposed HB 8002 and perhaps others removes is changes this requirement anyway for holding public hearings, and so she suggests removing this language altogether. I suggested whatever the appropriate language is for holding public hearings, we should have a section here, but the language should reflect what is the appropriate way to do so.
Okay, so can this be referred to the attorneys or for clarification?
Yeah, I asked her to come back with some language as to how other charters refer to holding public hearings. And yes, of course, every item that we submit for changes to the charter will be reviewed by council.
Okay, so really that one is in hand and the ball is in.
I have not handed that over. I have not handed that over, but I just wanted to let you know that was the conversation that I had with her.
But she's going to come back to you with some
suggested language. Yeah, I think we should have a section on procedure for holding public hearings. It's just that the language as expressed now does not reflect how it is currently being handled, nor whatever changes might exist under any new legislature. It should reflect that as well. So that's going to be subject to change, and we should just reflect that in our notes.
So she'll be providing some text, and then that'll eventually go to the attorney.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, should we go back to C16.3 at the top of this page?
Yes.
Where she suggested confirming with the town attorney that that there is the authority to require quorum affirmative votes for approval.
Again, this would have been approved in 2016, but the attorneys have already at one time approved it.
Well, there was no change, and so what they did approve was what was changed. So reflect on that. And so again, sorry, just refer. Was it 16-3? Is that what you're saying?
The very top of the page, yes.
Okay, hold on just a second. Let me pull up my notes from that. This is the last sentence. A quorum shall consist of 5 members.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
concurs. Yeah. So again, inquired with the town planner there. This does not exist anywhere else, although she did note that maybe it got picked up back when. It is required for ZBA on state statute. However, that this is not something, for instance, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have it in front of me, but the number of members that we have in the P and Z is 9. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if there were some folks absent, the concurrent, I don't have it in front of me, I apologize, but the quorum consists of 5 members. In the case of concurrence of 4, one would expect that when you have a quorum of 5, it's concurrence of 3 and not concurrence of 4. And so she's flagging this as something that perhaps should be reflective of what everybody else has. It's not required under state statutes to be 4. ZBA is, and she thinks it should be 3. And that again would be, we would request information. Sarah, who's very keen on understanding all of these things, was not here 10 years ago. And so she was able to flag these things as being something that needs a council review, and she's suggesting that should be 3.
John
And
has a
we'll,
que-
we'll review that under council as well.
John has a question.
I think there's some wisdom in what's being asked to be reviewed. I'd like to review that. As you said correctly,
Yeah.
if it's 4, normally there'd be 9 people, 9 commissioners on
Yeah.
the PA. Just saying now, 4 of those commissioners are gone, there's only 5, so that's 4.
Yeah.
And therefore, if you have 3, it's a very low bar to get something
Yeah.
perhaps of significance approved. So I
Yeah.
see having the requirement for 4, raising the bar as being a bit of a safety check to say,
Yeah.
we're not gonna let 3 people to do.
Tom, yeah,
Or
I-
your quorum,
Has to be higher.
your quorum should be higher. I mean, because 4 out of 9 is still not the majority. You don't know the other 5 would have voted.
I
Yeah.
think very strange that the quorum is 4 when it's a 9-member body rather than 5.
Right.
But if there's
But
5,
it says that if it's
Yeah,
only
sorry,
5,
5 members it does,
if
you're
it's only
right.
5,
Yeah,
it's not a simple majority, 3 against 2. It has to be a simple
right.
majority, 4
Yeah.
against 5.
Or
Four
I-
against
1, yeah.
I don't think anybody's dying on a hill on this one. I just think, and I don't think that we ever get down to 5 members when you have 9 plus 3 alternates, but that's what she's just flagging.
Yeah, I would encourage not touching this one. I think there's a safety break in there.
Yeah, I think that protects people actually, because you're gonna get 4 people to go along as opposed to just 3. And so you can't be sure. It just makes it a little harder.
Why wouldn't you have this kind of provision for all of the boards?
Well,
and
that's a good point.
commissions?
Yeah,
It's just come to our attention now.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a good point. That might be valid. If it's valid here, it might be valid elsewhere.
yeah. So we'll bring this to the attention of council, but that's what she raised.
Yeah,
All right. Okay, so
Well, what is the purpose of asking council? What are we actually asking council?
what
What are we asking council? What's the question?
Well-
what are you gonna ask council? That's the question on the floor.
Yes, we ask, we'll have a final review by council of all the changes that we make or things that we don't change and so she raised this as a question. Again, I don't see it as a hill to die on, but I think that she did raise the question and we'll just double check on that. She did say it's required by ZBA, not required by any other board or commission. We'll just double check on that. If you don't think it's necessary, it's just part of the overall review process. It's not a problem.
Well, wait a second.
Yeah,
In this group, we seem to think that if you're down to 5 people,
4 is good.
the 4 is necessary.
Okay,
Not just good, 4 is necessary because we want to protect as much as possible defendable majority.
Yep.
Okay, so 4 is more defendable than 3. So if we decide that we're not gonna accept her point, then that's it. We don't have to discuss it any further. It's
Yeah,
done,
just-
done.
And I agree with that, Chris. It's just that when you bring forward to the full commission, you want to just talk about everything that you reviewed, what you've decided to go forward with, and that those issues that you've decided not to, just as we will do on the full commission. Those that we have reviewed and decided not to go forward with, just so there's just a full understanding of what reviewed. Nobody's questioning whether or not, you know, it's right or wrong, but I think you just have to express that. Not everybody has a chance to review what you've reviewed, and you're giving a summation of what you've done and what you've decided to take a position on. Not a problem.
When we went through Article 1, which I presented 21 things to the commission, of which 15, I think, were rejected, and we agreed on 5 or 6.
Right.
So he's saying I should bring up the other 15.
If there's, I think if you guys had a discussion and so forth and you agreed on something, this came from outside of our commission. This
Right.
came from a recommendation outside of our commission, which you guys have decided on. Totally respect that. And I'm just saying, if you would bring that to the commission, that's helpful. If you've already within your body have had multiple discussions about any point and you've agreed on it, that's fine. You don't need to bring it to the full commission. This came from the outside.
What I would bring to the full commission is recommendation that the standard of supermajority in a quorum situation
Yes.
be considered across the board in the charter.
Okay.
That I would be willing to move up to the full charter commission to decide upon.
Is that what the 4 of you are agreeing?
You just state the motion, I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion would be that with respect to the need to have 4 affirmative votes in the event that that you're operating under a quorum.
Well, why don't we just refer to it as a minimal quorum? Well, no,
Yeah, if you're operating in a quorum of 5 members, the concurrence of 4 votes will be required. So we want to keep that, but we're saying that is a good practice.
And is that if you have a 9-member board? That's if you have a 9-member
Or any
board.
member board, you have to kind of go through all the boards and their membership and say, what would be the supermajority that's needed in order to make sure that something passes.
So
Some
Mhm.
small, let's say you have a 5-member commission, a parking commission, we just talked about 5 members. You're saying 4 there?
No,
No,
the
no.
party commission, if it's 5 members, the quorum would be 3.
Right.
Well, it's not that true to pass.
Okay.
So it
it's irrelevant.
doesn't really apply for small boards and commissions, but maybe
Right.
for the larger ones, it does. Board of Finance.
Or maybe relative to their importance. I mean, some boards and commissions, it maybe doesn't matter. The downside of this, of 4, is that on a party basis, you could have, the 4 would still protect you, right? Because presumably, you'd have to convince somebody from another party, presumably, to go along. So, yeah, I think it's not a bad practice, maybe not across the, it should be considered by the full
Yeah.
commission. Where it would be applicable and where it would be a good practice.
Yeah.
That's
and consistent
Right
Yeah.
here. So if you
and
make that motion-
consistent.
Yeah.
All right, so how do we say that?
So, the motion might be something like the following, that the full CRC should consider in relation to each board or commission whether it would be best practice to have a supermajority vote provision if that body is operating at the minimum quorum level.
I think the word supermajority makes it unnecessarily complicated. It might scare people, because I'm not sure we have to define what supermajority is.
Well, I don't know that we can though, if it's, all the boards are different sizes.
So why don't we start with the one we agree on, which is 9, boards of 9 members or more. Would require 4 votes.
Because I would like everybody to think about all the boards and
We
commissions.
make
personally.
recommendation, 1 through 9, 1 through the smaller size,
7.
7, yeah.
7 would require.
You can operate with 4, so you're saying you need 3.
Right. I'm fine with that.
Which you would need anyway to get a majority,
Right.
right, with 4.
No. Well, yes, with 4,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to do any business because it'd be a tie. So you have to go to 4-3.
Yeah,
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 So it's only in the 9-member boards that this issue can come. And
Correct.
the 9-member boards are PNC and Board of Finance.
Correct.
I don't think it's a bad
We
rule,
already have it here, so we're talking about the word.
adding it to the Board of Finance.
And any implications of Board of Finance, Chris, that you may be aware of? This-
Well, we've never, to my knowledge, operated at such a low level. I mean, everybody shows up to Board of Finance meetings.
Well, that's the point of having alternates.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the alternates fill in, I mean, there's been maybe a time when we had, we've always filled the seats, I mean, and we don't worry about, if we have to fill a seat at the margin and it's a different party, we just put that person in there so that we can operate as a full board. So I have no frame of reference on this. I've never run into a situation where we haven't had 9 people seated to make a decision.
that's
And I
it.
think the same is true on P and Z.
Yeah.
Again, it's sort of,
It's been 11 years I've been on that.
But there could be an emergency situation when the Board of Finance needs to meet urgently, and there are very good reasons why a lot of people can't turn up, but it's extremely
With
important
Zoom.
to transact
Well,
business.
we did that during COVID. And
Yeah.
everybody showed up, on Zoom.
I
So it's not a bad provision to have as an absolute fail safe, but
no, I agree with that. I
With
think,
the
yeah,
larger boards, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we could say apply this language that said currently exists in 16-3 to other large boards.
yep.
Maybe that's what the recommendation is. And it's simply a recommendation to the okay, so I'm gonna write this.
So that would be Board of Finance and Town Council, which would mean a change. And Town Council.
So how do they do it?
11.
No, but I mean, it's 12, right? Members.
And then they have the ex officio,
Aren't
the
they-
first selectman,
They're 13, aren't they?
with the ex officio.
Yeah, we're also, the Board of Finance also has like official time breaking votes. So I mean, that you never run into that, almost never run into such a situation. You also have to consider that too. But in town, in Board of, in P and Z, the first selectman is not an official.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
With a
Yes.
vote? Time
Yes.
breaking vote?
Yes.
We're checking.
I sort of feel it's a bit superfluous.
I agree, but if you want some consistency.
It's superfluous until you're in that tough situation. I'm sorry.
It's never gonna happen.
I have that right here, 16. There's 16 in the charter, and I'll read it for you, just to set up. The first selectman and the town engineer shall have no vote.
But they're ex officio, right? Is it for a tie?
There shall be a town planning and zoning commission of 9 regular members and 3 alternates who shall be electors of the town, together with the first selectman and the town engineer as ex officio members. The first selectman and town engineer shall have no vote, with the exception of the first selectman and the town engineer, the member shall serve without compensation, blah, blah, blah.
We had this
So-
discussion last
So
week.
no vote, so no
Uh,
tiebreaker, no tiebreaker.
Yeah, we had
Okay,
this
sorry.
discussion last week, if you remember. It's one part of planning and zoning. I think it's the zoning part, but I could be wrong there. That actually under state statute, the first selectman cannot vote. So the solution was if we have planning and zoning together, the first selectman doesn't have any vote at all.
Yes, that's right. In
Yeah.
by state statutes, the
Yeah.
person you can vote for planning,
Planning,
but not for zoning.
you're right,
So that complicates matters.
you're right.
You know what? Maybe we don't recommend anything. We just leave it where it is.
Leave it where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And somebody will discuss it at a higher level than so many. Because
Yeah.
it's such a supported body.
Academically,
and
Yeah.
so,
Okay, so
Yeah.
that said,
We would have to conclude that section.
that's it. Future interviews and agendas.
I had an issue I wanted to raise. I was just going through my papers for the CRC this morning, and I noticed that a piece of paper, Group 1, December 18th, 2025 interviews, and under Article 16, we were going to talk with Scott Hobbs of the Housing Authority. Now, I don't think Scott Hobbs has come and talked to the CRC. I believe we've talked to everybody else on this list. Sarah Carey, town planner, P&Z itself, John Goodwin, Jeff Williams.
Well, he's just a member of he's a member of
affordable housing, affordable housing,
he's on affordable housing.
yeah,
Yeah, so it does concern me a little bit that I don't know that any of the groups in CRC have actually talked to the Housing Authority at all. And there's absolutely nothing in the town charter on the Housing Authority. It's a completely standalone basis that reports to the state. But I think there should be something in the charter, perhaps along the lines of what we had for the Board of Ed, which just states how it's constituted. I mean, for example, who approves appointments to
town
the House?
council.
But
town
I believe
council.
it's also Board of Selectmen as well. It goes to the Board of Selectmen.
So
and it
here's
goes
a
to the town.
recommendation.
I think it only goes to town council. It only goes
So
to
here's a
town.
recommendation, Kathleen, I think at the full commission level, that I guess a discussion of the housing authority is appropriate.
I agree,
That's what we recommend.
Okay, so
Agreed.
that wouldn't be on an agenda for next week.
No, because let's have everybody talk about it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be 3 provisions so that it's a marker in the chart.
Yeah,
I know that actually Scott reached out to me maybe 2 weeks ago saying that he is interested, he's following, and we will invite him to meet with the full commission.
Yeah.
oh, good, yeah, that's terrific.
Kathleen, one of the things we talked about before you joined the call was Article 1, where we have the logo and the seal sitting with the attorney. And the question was, can we send an inquiry for them or prompt, or do we just sit and wait? Because
I would suggest submitting, just submitting the full Article 1 and just wherever we have open items for legal review, just reflect it as such.
okay,
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know that we have any more interviews to do. We kind of have the same articles to discuss next time because we didn't come to any conclusion. So we have Article 1, hopefully something will come along.
I will send a note to Todd and just ask him.
Article 19, we're gonna review the town clerk's memo. Article 13, we're gonna review the work of the parking commission. Article 15, we're waiting on some, what are we waiting for, Joe, with long term? Last time was
Article 15?
Yeah.
16 is P&Z.
16. Oh.
16, yeah.
Well, it would seem to me that on the agenda that Kathleen put together for next Tuesday, D and Z is on the agenda behind term limits and terms. So we're
Not on the
likely,
agenda. It's
It's
not
not
on the agenda.
oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was.
Right here,
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about elected versus appointed? Yes,
Right.
I thought you're talking about
Right.
the expected
And
letter. Yeah.
that we were, have you collected, we'd be submitting to you?
Not everybody's. I have not gotten everyone's. I'll send a note out, just a
Well, my
reminder.
question, there's really two things that you asked for. One was on term limits, you wanted to, and then you also wanted on elected versus appointed.
Yes,
So are you actively collecting both right now?
I hope to be.
Okay.
Yes, I've requested it. Not everybody has complied, but yes.
why is one of those?
So I would think that having the P and Z discussion in larger group first would be productive before we come back to smaller.
Yeah, I think that's what we've kind of decided because we don't know what to do with the overarching issue.
That's fine.
We want
That's
to
fine.
win advice from them.
So I suggest that we keep it on the agenda.
Oh, yeah,
If we have nothing to
we're
discuss,
keeping-
we
we're
don't
keeping
move
it.
on.
We're keeping exactly the same agenda. The agenda for next meeting will be exactly as.
And
Yeah,
the planner may have reverted to Kathleen on some of the, on that language issue that she discussed with her. So that might be something to discuss.
All right, so who would like to be the secretary and the chair, yes, of the next meeting?
Was I the secretary of this meeting and I'll go through?
No, I am.
You are, okay. The next meeting is on Wednesday.
Yeah.
A week today.
Good, I can chair and be secretary of that meeting, because I have a big meeting Wednesday and then I'm done.
Okay,
Oh,
so
so you can make the meeting on Wednesday afternoon next week.
Yes, it's at on the 18th and I can be there at, my meeting gets out at like 12:30, so I'll be there.
Okay, I'm afraid I can only start at 4:30 again. That's okay, everybody?
4:30, and I will not be here.
Okay.
So,
can I inquire? Sorry. Can I
Yes.
inquire? And I apologize, I couldn't get on earlier, but I would encourage you, even if you only have half an article reviewed, and if you have some things that are still outstanding, put it forward so that we can embody it in the full draft. Obviously, it'll be subject to further discussion, whether at the group level or at the full commission level. But at least we can embody it in the initial drafts of the full
Right,
charter.
okay,
If there's
so-
still more work to be done, so be
well,
it.
on
Yeah, that's
Article
fine.
1, on
Yeah.
Article 1, it's mostly done except for 3 little items, one of which we can fix as we send it up, which is the one word, no.
One word.
Yeah, the other 2 things are dependent on other people's inputs.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
we
And
can
we can bracket that and say waiting for council
Alright,
review
so,
or what have
John,
you.
You got it?
This week, will you please move that up there? Town clerk, I don't know, I mean, I think we need to work on that.
Yes, and what I'd like to do is perhaps produce a red line version for discussion at next week, including perhaps further discussion of the responses from the town clerk to our questions, as we only got those just after 4:00 this afternoon. So but I would suggest that we leave discussion of elected versus appointed to the full CRC,
We were,
town clerk.
Right,
oh, sorry. Say that again.
So I would suggest that we don't keep rehashing whether the town clerk should be appointed or elected in this forum, but that we promote it to a discussion at a full CRC meeting.
Sure.
okay,
But hopefully we'll have enough where we can perhaps agree a red line draft of that particular town charter article at next week's meeting and put that forward then.
This is the red line draft for the town clerk.
Town clerk, yeah.
Well, we haven't reviewed the questions. And the premise for asking all the questions was that they would provide a context from which we would then make some decisions. So I think based on what I thought we laid out as the process, we would go through that. We would then establish the context and then we could progress to the red line version.
Well, I mean, I can produce a red line draft which people may or may not like or think is sufficient.
that's
Just to try and move things along. But I think a lot of the context is really important for the discussion that will take place at the full CRC on the elected versus appointment of this position.
All right, well, if you wanna take a crack, look, we have two things to discuss on town clerk's salon, town clerk's memo and a possible red line.
Yeah,
And we'll just deal with it. We'll deal with those two inputs during that meeting. Article 13, how do you feel about moving what you have currently up to the full board?
I'd like to, no, it's not ready yet. I'd like to hear back that it's their meeting to review this draft language now too.
So when do you think you'll hear from them?
They were meeting as we were meeting, so I would think I will hear very shortly.
Would you feel comfortable, well, okay, I think.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that they're
Yeah,
putting it on.
I think we have to wait on that, Daphne. I think the only thing we could give you is 1. 19 is up in the air, 13 is up in the air, and so is 16. So as much as we'd love to send
Okay.
them.
That's
They're
fine,
not-
that's fine.
I
I'll
may-
take your decision, that's
So
fine.
we need to see them.
Is sending it up, where do I send it to you or do I send it?
Yes, please,
Yes.
Just send it to you, okay,
yes, please.
we'll do that.
Okay, so it's the same agenda for next week, same time and everything. And
And if I get a draft, I will, ahead of time, I'll put it in the documents for this meeting and send it around. for
yeah,
everybody.
if we can vote on the
Yeah.
13 next week, and you can move it up, and then we're all fine. All right. That's it. Can I have a motion to
yeah,
adjourn?
I move adjournment.
Okay. Okay. We're done.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
your husband.
Thank you, Kenneth Lane.
Okay, happy,
I'm sorry?
congratulations, it's your husband's birthday, right? Or did you say?
No, that's next Tuesday.
Okay. So,
No, I'm in London on business.
okay,
All right, good, very good. Take
Okay.
care.
thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
Stop recording.